Hi, lollies. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda's channel. Thank you for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you'll be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of ours. You guys are the
So,
real
lovelies,
MVP.
I
So
came across this conversation on the social platform where so many people are discussing about the Eve gene and the people who actually have this gene inside of them. So many people have the opinion that it is actually, you know, in a black woman's gene. Like black women are strictly the people that carries this Eve gene. Why some people also argue the fact that okay, every woman have this Eve gene, and I was able to put up some of those statistics because, as you all know, I'm just going to roll it. Leave me your own thought and let's dive
Black
into
women,
it.
especially those of direct African descent, have the widest range of genetic traits, skin tones, eye colors, hair textures, and even disease resistance. This genetic diversity is unmatched anywhere else on Earth. But there's a scientific reason behind this: the Eve gene. Scientists like to call her mitochondrial Eve. This isn't just a theory, it's proven through genetics. Unlike regular DNA, which is a mix of both parents, mitochondrial DNA is passed only from mother to child, unchanged, except for rare mutations. This means that every human being carries a trace of their first mother, an African woman. From the deepest mahogany to golden honey to even albino skin, Black women's melanin comes in every shade. Some are born with freckles, others with striking undertones that shimmer in the sun. While brown eyes is most common, Black women can naturally have hazel, green, gray, and blue eyes. These rare colors show up due to genetic variations that have been passed down for thousands of years. Hair. No one has more variety than us. From tight coils to silky waves, from thick locks to naturally straight hair. Black women's hair is a crown of versatility, naturally. Our facial features, just as diverse. Some have high cheekbones and full lips, others have narrow noses or wide. Regal structures that have been admired for centuries. Scientists discovered that every single human being can trace their maternal ancestry back to one African woman who lived over 150,000 years ago, mitochondrial Eve. That doesn't mean she was the first woman, but she is the common maternal ancestor of everyone alive today. But here's where it gets even deeper. Over time, humans migrated out of Africa. Their DNA mutated and adapted to different climates, leading to the variations we now call races. This means every non-Black person today is simply a genetic branch from the Black woman who started it all. Only Black women carry the full, unbroken mitochondrial DNA link to the very first mother of humanity. Our DNA is powerful. It's why we innovate, adapt, and thrive. This is why Black women continue to set trends, break records, and define culture. The world may change, but one thing stays the same. Black women are the blueprint. Black women, especially.
Hold up, stop right now and watch this video. Did y'all know that Black women are the only organisms on Earth that produces the mitochondria DNA? That has all of the variations possible for every single kind of different human being on this Earth. Such as the Africans, the albinos, the Europeans, the Hispanics, the Asians, the Middle Easterns, all Latinos, you name it. When the DNA of a Black woman mutates, all other kinds of different human beings come about. I'll actually like for y'all to go research this for yourselves because y'all can actually learn a lot. I'll be putting links down below. And this is called the Eve gene, just in case if y'all don't know, and it is only found in Black women. So if any racists try to bring you down, including the Black boys, because I see them being a lot of colorists, let them know they wouldn't be who they are today if it wasn't for you, because you are the manifestation of God. Praise y'all.
The only reason these other races are here in the first place, let's be real, is because their ancestors mixed with our divine DNA. Without our divine DNA, they would not be able to be here. And what do I mean by that? The only difference between all the other races is that they either have Neanderthal blood in them or Denisovan blood. The Asians, they have the Denisovan blood. The Caucasians, etc., Arabs, they have the Neanderthal blood. That is the only difference between us. And yet that percentage that they have is about what? 1 to 10%? Or 1 to 12 at most?
Okay, so maybe I'm the last one to know this, but Eve was black, right? Like Adam and Eve, the first woman was black. Because black women are the only one with the Eve gene, and she's the mother of all according to Christians. So
My dear, the Eve gene did originate with black women, and it's only carried by black women. What? It can be passed from mother to child regardless of race. No, it cannot, my dear. That gene is only carried by black women. Only black women have that gene. Not a white woman, not no other. No, it's only black women. Please. Please. And I almost brought out the whiteboard and my pointer, but I just had to say this. Please. No. Strong and wrong. Strong and wrong. Strong and wrong. Strong and wrong. My dear.
Earlier today, I encountered a video that's going around. You might have seen it. I didn't want to tag the person in this because I don't want to bring any shame to anybody. I just want to educate that's out there, and I'm pretty certain that maybe you might have come across it. This question has been frequently asked on the internet. The question goes a little bit something like this. So first off, beginning things, there is no Eve gene. The commonality of hearing that, which it can change, by the way, it's really talking about a common ancestor that we all share through mitochondrial DNA, which is only carried by the female, the mother. This Eve origin goes back 200,000 years or so, and it's in modern day South Africa, where Botswana is. I'm going to put the title of the area where they said, and the name is changed. There's a little something called the founder effect, and it's true that most of our diversity is still in modern day Africa, but one female cannot produce all of the diversity because of the mitochondrial DNA we hold. We need the other DNA to do that, and many variations for phenotypes. 30,000 years ago, subgroups migrated. So the Eve gene is pretty much like an inherited gene from a common ancestor. It's the most recent common ancestor that we all share. It could actually go back about 200,000 years. Mitochondrial DNA can actually remain unchanged for about 10,000 plus years. So what this means that if there wasn't other females living, we don't know that. It's just there could have been other females that were alive, but they didn't have any daughters. They might have had sons. So that lineage stopped right there when they only had sons, which is kind of interesting because history is all about having sons. There's still a lineage line through the Y chromosome. It's just that they have their own particular DNA from the mother. And it's a very tiny fraction of our genetic material that we hold versus over 10 to 20,000 for the nucleus. I think it's interesting that this movie Luca came out earlier this year, and that's also an acronym for Last Universal Common Ancestor. A couple years ago, they developed a mathematical equation, genomic data. Everyone has two parents, so the ancestor doubles for every generation. So 10 generations ago, that's about 1,000 ancestors. Fast forward to 40 generations later, that's about 1 trillion ancestors. So we're all related. So technically, we marry our 30th cousin, or could. The length of a DNA sequence shows us how closely related or how distantly related we are.
Every person on this planet today that we know of can trace their maternal DNA back to one female walking around Africa that existed between 150 and 200,000 years ago, named Mitochondrial Eve. My video last night mentioning this had a lot of really good questions, and I wanted to kind of break that down and explain it a little bit better to try to clear that up. Because yeah, like this commenter said, evolution doesn't happen to individuals, it happens to populations. So just like Off the top of it, this just doesn't seem right. How did one individual lead to everybody today? Let's break this down. Our species, sapiens, dates back probably about 300,000 years. So by the time mitochondrial Eve, our last ancestor, was walking around, there had already been 150,000 years of Homo sapien history that had passed. So mitochondrial Eve was definitely not the first female sapien. That's not what this says. If you think about your own family tree, you could probably see some branches that went extinct. The lineage didn't progress. There were no children that had children of their own. That's what's important to realize here with mitochondrial Eve. Mitochondrial Eve is the most recent female because females pass down mitochondrial DNA to females, so it kind of remains separate and we can trace it. So mitochondrial Eve is the most recent female who had a daughter that had another daughter that had another daughter that had another daughter, so on for 10,000 generations or so, with that chain of daughters never breaking. It's important to realize also that the population has changed drastically since this time period. We have a major population that spans the globe today. At this time, all sapiens were still in Africa, so populations could be wiped out a lot easier. In fact, that almost happened around 70,000 years ago. Our species almost went extinct. We see there is a major genetic bottleneck where the numbers were decreased. Some studies have pointed to as few as 1,000 or 2,000. Some suggest 10,000, maybe 20,000. At the end of the day, we were endangered. So there were probably a lot of these lineages that were lost during that time. And if mitochondrial Eve made it through that time period with a larger proportion of descendants, you could see how they'd overwhelm the rest. There's also a Y chromosome atom, and in 2013, that date was actually pushed back about 100,000 years because DNA was tested from a lineage in Cameroon that was more ancient than any haplogroups ever seen.
So real quick, Black women are the only organisms on Earth that possess the mitochondrial DNA that has all of the variations possible for every single kind of different human being on this Earth. The African, the albino, the European, the Middle Eastern. When the DNA of a Black woman mutates, all other kinds of human beings come about. Go ahead and research this topic. It's called the Eve gene, and it's only found in Black women. Sorry, but Black women are actually the manifestation of God. Yeah, I said it.
Another one for you, another reality check. The Eve gene is only passed on through the mother. So if your mother's not Black and you don't have an unbroken Black mother chain, you don't have an Eve gene, which means you are not a part of this whole ancient Egyptian, all this Black goddess, God queen stuff. You're not a part of it because your mother's not Black. You don't have an Eve gene. And this includes a lot of MGMs, multiracial, mixed people as well. A lot of them do not have an Eve gene because they do not come from Black mothers. So a lot of these people, oh, I'm black, they don't even have an Eve gene. That's why it's funny to people like me.
Take your buckle up. I started eating somebody up and then it all clicked in my mind real quick. Parthenogenesis is the story of Genesis. Literally, they are literally telling you the story of how the Eve gene mutated and was creating children, self-ether, non-ether beings through the process of parthenogenesis. Really look at Genesis. God created these things? No. They literally told you the cycles of getting implanted and literally creating a child inside of her body. I can't do it today. Think about it. The seventh day, they're talking about a menstrual cycle. They're literally talking about from ovulation, the sun, the circling, the going around. That's a full circle of ovulation. And then if you think about it, all the calendars and the 28 days that connect into our cycles, 13 freaking spots on a turtle. The Bible is literally a story about women going through parthenogenesis and what they did and how they sacrificed the sons and the daughters, which is how they put the bronze feet on the cross. Jesus wasn't one person, or even a man at that. And then they tell you a story about the Garden of Eden, and then you realize that Antarctica is the Garden of Eden. It's the actual Garden of Eden where 2/3 of the water is, and it's literally a rainforest. But then why would they try to give us the Amazon rainforest our entire life and look in total opposite direction? Because they were trying to make us look at, they were telling the story about the Amazon women, about the women who were going through parthenogenesis, which is the true story of the Eve gene. And everything they tell you in the Bible is the story about how they literally went and they pillaged things. I'm sorry, God doesn't like murder, but he had a guy murder proved his loyalty to him? Like, your God is already tainted. Your God was already a sinful God, so we can't pretend that the book was written by a good person. But then if you know, like I know, when the book was revised by King James, the Demonology King, in 1881, 30,000 times, it literally was a story recreated to continue the journey. They removed so many crystals and things, and why now I understand why I was 69.9% more likely to die in childbirth. I'm going to say it sound weird. If black women are able to capable literally tap into their pineal gland, the crystal drip every month and charge themselves with crystals and gems and everything they mark taboo, we'll be able to heal ourselves. I'll say it out loud. Parthenogenesis is real. Stingrays and sharks do it. If bells are capable of healing an entire town from one ring, and energy literally, Tesla told you energy can be transferred through the air. So if you can hone that energy and charge melanin, what can melanin actually do? Oh my gosh, I gotta go, Tiki. But yeah, you can't argue with me today. Parthenogenesis is literally the story of Genesis. It's in the freaking name. Mary didn't have a little lamb. That's where the tainting come in. That's where Ball's story begins, with Mary. With the Virgin Mary, the sacrificing. If you were sacrificing black women who go through parthenogenesis, you were sacrificing.
Is this aging conversation has actually put the whole of internet on a spike of arguments, or would like to call it a debate, where so many people were of the opinion, and some research which was done, talked about this aging being carried by only black women. That is why a black woman is capable of giving birth to any color. Like, they can even go as far as to give birth to an albino. I don't know if you guys of albino. I have seen so many of the albinos that often look so white, but they were actually giving birth by a black woman. Like, the first time I actually came across an albino, I was like, oh my god, is this person supposed to be a pan colored person or a black person? And for two black people, like a male and a female, to actually give birth to an albino, got my curiosity so high. Then I decided that, okay, let me just make this research to actually, then and I realized that black women are capable of giving birth to any color, like because of maybe the Eve gene or whatsoever. So when I came on the social platform, especially TikTok and I came across the said conversation about Eve gene, and which is the ability, which is the reason why some black women can comfortably give birth to any race or color. I'm not talking about pink color or something. Now, the argument spiked, and it was not really sitting well to some people, because some of them are arguing that women, like all women, have this Eve gene inside of them. Why some people have the disagreement that it's only carried by a black woman. And if you're a black woman and you give birth to a child, that the percentage of you passing it to your child is high, and now this actually brought me to a confused conclusion that I used to have before. I have seen so many clips of human race and humanity and how human came to be. There is this research I have seen, and I have made my own, and they talked about the first people who ever existed in the planet Earth, which happens to be black people. There is no two ways about it. There's no any form of argument. It's actually believed that black people are the ones who existed first, and every other race came from a black womb, and there is nothing anyone can do about that. That means practically everyone came from a black person, a black woman who is probably somewhere in who was somewhere in Africa. That is just what I see on most of my research. And the thing is that there is this research from Jane Elliott. I don't know if I promise pronounce her name well, but I think she's by name Jane Elliott. She talked about this said thing about how black person was actually the first people to ever existed in the planet Earth. But what really happened is that when these black people reproduced, they started traveling, and that was how they got themselves um, in some kind of a very cold country or environment or something, and that is how their melanin started fading out. There are so many stories about this, but the one talked about by Jane, she was like, when these guys were like traveling, that is how they started losing their melanin, and the further they travel, the further they lose their melanin, and at a point they become pan color that we know today. And like the history, the story is just so complicated, as every other person have their own different theory. There is another theory that talked about some fallen angels that fell from above, and this angel was supposed to be protecting these black women or something, which they didn't. They started meeting with them, and they have children, which they produced Neanderthals, and Neanderthals decided to go live on the mountain. Like the stories are just so like complicated. So coming to this, the if gene is just another debate that I really also need to look into, and get more educated. That was why I decided to just put it up here for me to hear you guys' opinion about this if gene and what you think. Anyway, lovelies, wanna just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that. Like, and I will see you lovelies when I upload. Thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. So if you've not subscribed to this channel, do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, like, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.